8 News is your local election headquarters. Time is running out to cast your vote in the 2020 general election.
I think we're going to have a great night.
The people are going to decide who gets to be president.
8 News has team coverage this election day, covering everything from record voter turnout in Virginia to the latest on contentious statewide races and what's being done to resolve some reported problems at the polls.
8 News starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Election Night 2020. I'm Juan Condi.
And I'm Constance Jones. 8 News is your local election headquarters. We're just 2 hours away from polls closing here in Virginia.
It's been a busy day, going to be a busy evening. Let's get right to the action. We have live team coverage for you with reporters across Central Virginia tonight talking about big races, polling issues, and much more. Talia Cunningham and Alex Thorson are standing by. We'll begin with Capitol Bureau reporter Jackie DeFusco and new details just in from the State Board of Elections. Jackie?
Well, the main message from the Virginia Department of Elections tonight is that it is much more important to be accurate than it is to be fast. The good news, though, is that Virginia is likely to be faster at counting ballots than some other states. And that's because the Commonwealth can pre-process absentee ballots, basically meaning that localities have been scanning them as they have been arriving in record numbers throughout the early voting period. Some states can't start this process until Election Day, which is why we could see a slower trickle out of some of these key battleground states like Pennsylvania. Now, Virginia's election commissioner Chris Piper says that going into Election Day today, the state still had to process about 300,000 absentee ballots, which is on par with the 2016 election, he says. Here's what Piper had to say in a press briefing that just wrapped up a bit ago.
I do believe that that the localities have been able to get through a lot of processing, and so I think we're in good shape here in Virginia, but we just won't know for sure until we get through the night.
So if you are watching for Virginia results at home tonight, shortly after polls close at 7 p.m., we do expect to see some initial tallies. Localities have then been instructed to process these absentee ballots until an 11 p.m. cutoff, so we'll see more results after that. And if the races at this point are still too close to call, we will not see another update until after Friday, November 6th at noon. That is the deadline this year for accepting late absentee ballots postmarked by Election Day. For now, we're live in the Digital Center. Jackie DeFusco, 8 News.
All right, Jackie, thank you. We turn now to the race for Richmond's mayor. A crowded field of contenders are hoping to oust the incumbent, Mayor LeVar Stoney. 8 News reporter Ben Dennis joins us live from downtown with the latest on the race. Ben.
Good evening, Constance. Tonight there are 5 candidates in the running for Richmond mayor, including the incumbent, Mayor LeVar Stoney, seeking a second 4-year term. Now, Richmond's mayoral race is unique. Securing that popular vote does not necessarily ensure victory, but first to the candidates. City Councilwoman Kim Gray, plus community activist Tracy McLean, Alexis Rogers, the head of a lobbying arm advocating for women domestic workers, plus local lawyer Justin Griffin, and Mayor LeVar Stoney, all vying for the city's top job. Now, here is how we reach a winner. One candidate has to get the most votes in at least 5 of the 9 city council districts. If that does not happen, there's a runoff election, which would be on December 15th. Now, that runoff would be between the 2 candidates who received the most and second most votes citywide. Then it's back to the original rules. One of those 2 candidates must get the most votes in at least 5 of the 9 city council districts in order to become mayor. And with a crowded field, there is an increased likelihood of a runoff, but it's too soon to know for sure as votes are still coming in at this hour. And coming up on 8 News at 6, we're going to break down how much money was poured into these campaigns and the disparities heading into the final stretch. But for now, we're live in downtown Richmond. Ben Dennis, 8 News.
All right, Ben, thanks so much. We're also keeping a close eye on the Virginia Senate race. Democratic incumbent Senator Mark Warner is facing off against Republican challenger Daniel Gade. We'll continue to update you throughout the night, both on air and online as the results come in.
We'll also be tracking the 7th District congressional race tonight. Abigail Spanberger and Nick Freitas battling for a seat in the House of Representatives. 8 News reporter Talia Cunningham is joining us live from Henrico with this story tonight. Talia?
Well, Juan, this district covers a lot of ground, spanning from portions of Chesterfield County all the way up to portions of Spotsylvania, as well as Culpeper counties. Now, political analysts believe this is going to be a tight race and perhaps one of the most competitive in the country. Let's introduce you to those candidates. We know that Abigail Spanberger, she's a Democrat incumbent. She won the district back in 2018. However, she's being challenged by Republican Nick Freitas. Spanberger made history 2 years ago, beating out Dave Bratt, flipping the seat blue for the first time in more than 3 decades. However, tonight Freitas is hoping to flip that back to red. Spanberger is a former CIA agent, and she reached voters back in 2018 with her stance on health care, specifically those with pre-existing conditions, advocating hard for the Affordable Care Act. Now, Freitas is an Army veteran who is currently serving in Virginia's House of Delegates. He's been endorsed by President Donald Trump and several law enforcement agencies in the 7th District. Both candidates were out and about in the community today, hoping to get those last-minute voters. Actually had the chance to sit down with Spanberger and Freitas. I'll have their last message to voters before the polls close coming up tonight at 6. We're live in Henrico. Talia Cunningham, 8 News.
Talia, thank you. With less than 2 hours for people to cast their votes, President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden are making one final push.
8 News investigator Carrie O'Brien's joining us now with their messages on this election day. Carrie?
Well, Juan Constance, today President Donald Trump made just his second campaign stop to Virginia, while former Vice President Joe Biden was in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. The president starting his day off at his campaign headquarters in Roslyn, thanking his staffers and other members of the Republican Party of Virginia. Biden started his day off by visiting his childhood home in Scranton, Pennsylvania, before meeting with business and union leaders in Philadelphia. Both expressed high hopes to their supporters ahead of tonight.
I think we're going to have a great night, but it's politics and it's elections, and you never know. I can say that Texas, Arizona, a few of them are looking really very, very strong.
I promise you this, although I'm running as a proud Democrat, if you elect me, I'm going to be an American president. There's going to be no red states or blue states, just the United States of America.
As the votes for president come in here in Virginia and across the nation, we'll be sure to keep you updated on air and on our website, WRIC.com. Constance.
All right, Carrie, thank you. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says there's been no evidence of foreign interference so far on this election day. You'll remember last month, top intelligence officials revealed that Russia and Iran had made attempts to sway and intimidate voters this election. Acting U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Chen Wolf made this promise to Americans this morning.
Let me be clear. Our election infrastructure is resilient, and we have no indications that a foreign actor has succeeded in compromising or affecting the actual votes cast in this election.
The Department of Homeland Security says it will remain on high alert tonight and in the days following to maintain the integrity of this election.
Several voters in Richmond tonight are reporting incomplete ballots. One woman says her ballot this morning didn't have any local races on it.
Yeah, the mistake allegedly happened at the Whitcomb Court polling place. That's where we find 8 News reporter Alex Thorson with an update. Alex.
Constance and Juan, this voter says she was one of the first people in line here this morning and right away noticed some serious issues. She says none of the local races were on her ballot. Now, this is the polling place here in Whitcomb Court. Allison Davis says she's voted here in every election for decades and never had a problem. She says, for one, the polling place opened about 15 minutes late this morning. And then once they opened, she says all of the local races were missing on the ballot. That's the mayor's race, school board, city council, even the constitutional amendments. Davis tells me she immediately told the poll workers about the problem, and about an hour later, they gave her a provisional ballot to finish voting. But she says there were several people who voted during that hour and worries that they had the wrong ballots as well.
I'm hopeful that my ballot will be counted because it is a provisional ballot, but maybe I have the opportunity to do so, but those who were there early this morning did not.
Now tonight we are working to find out what may have happened here and exactly how many voters may have been affected. I've of course called the Richmond Registrar's office and I'm waiting for a response from the chief of this location. I'm told that they're looking into it and will be giving me a call back. Live in Richmond, I'm Alex Thorson, 8 News.
Thank you, Alex. Tens of millions of voters are heading to the polls around the country today, and in several major U.S. cities there has been some tension. Outside the White House, federal authorities are preparing for potential unrest by putting up a non-scalable fence that encircles the perimeter. Businesses in L.A., New York, and Minneapolis have been boarding up windows in some neighborhoods. President Trump has raised concerns about potential voter intimidation. This Virginia poll worker says he's been trained to prevent it.
The poll watcher is trained both by the party and by the election office to do a very specific task. I think a lot of people, when they hear the concept of poll watching, they think that that's something else, that that's just random people showing up at a poll and doing nefarious activities. And that's absolutely not what a poll watcher does.
Now, if you still have not cast your ballot, it's not too late to do so, but you have to act quickly. If you're in line when the polls close at 7 p.m., you still have the right to vote. For those who've not mailed in their absentee ballot, you should go ahead and just drop off your ballot at the local registrar's office in a secure drop-box location by 7 p.m. And remember, 8 News is your local election headquarters. Keep up to date with the latest results as they come in throughout the night on our website at WRIC.com. Just click on Election 2020.
Up next here at 5, a warning from a top U.S. health official as coronavirus cases spike across the country.
And we'll introduce you to a group of people singing to voters at the polls. Their reason up next. John.
Okay, we've got some problems on the roads for you this election night. Powell Height and 288, there's a tractor trailer flipped over on Route 288, and you can see how it is really starting to slow down in both directions. One lane is closed each way, otherwise traffic moving relatively smoothly. Camera showing you switching off there, traffic moving away from it just fine. Look at your forecast coming up next.